Okay, now that we have these configuration commands set up on the switch right here, we're going to go back into the switch. Once again, I'm doing it by clicking directly on the switch as opposed to the console connection from the PC, just so that you can see it a little bit better. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type enable. I got to put in the password. All right, conf t configure terminal. And what we're going to do is we're going to configure line VTY, right? For this be for terminal access, right? Remote access. And with the router, we did it from 0 to 4, so 5 lines, 5 VTY lines. But now we can do it 0 to 15, right, with the switch. So we say line VTY 0 to 15. We'll say password is Cisco, right? And then we'll say login, right? And then end. Now that should be for Telnet. By default, that sets up Telnet. And let's test to make sure that that's the case. We open up our PC here, run the command prompt, and say Telnet into 192.168.99.2. It asks us for the password. We say Cisco, and we're into the switch. There it is, switch 1. Right? I'm going to exit. So now we have Telnet access from the PC to the switch, but Telnet is not encrypted. It's not secure. So we're going to try to upgrade here, and we're going to try to disable Telnet and enable SSH. All right, so we're going to do that next. Now to do that, first of all, we'll have to open up the switch again, and with the switch, we're going to have to go to global config mode and give the switch domain name. So we'll say, let it know what the domain name is. So IP domain dash name, and we'll call it danscourses.com. All right, so we've given it a domain name, right? Now what we can do is we can set up our secure keys. We can generate our encryption, our keys. Crypto key, right? Because SSH functions off encrypted keys, public and a private key, and that's what we need to build right now. So crypto key generate RSA, right? That's the command. We'll hit enter, and then it says how many bits in the modulus, right? Cisco recommends 1024. You could do 2048, but it's going to take longer for it to decrypt. So we'll say 1024, hit enter, and it's generating 1024-bit RSA keys. Keys will be non-exportable. Okay. All right, we're done there. Now we'll say IP SSH version 2. We're going to use SSH version 2, which is stronger and more secure than version 1. Right? It's been enabled. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to say transport. No, next thing we're going to do is we're going to say we're going to go back into our line VTY, our virtual terminal, 0 space 15, right? 0 to 15. And we're going to say transport input, right? We could say transport input. We'll put a question mark here. And after we put transport input, you can see that we can say all, which is all protocols, none, no protocols, SSH, or Telnet, right? By default, it's set to Telnet. So right now, the line VTY 0 to 5, when you enable it, the default is Telnet. So we're going to change it to SSH. So we'll say transport input SSH. And now Telnet should no longer work connecting into the switch. And we can test that out by just hopping on the PC, see if we can connect back in with Telnet. Okay, and you can see connection to the 99.2 was closed by foreign hosts. So we were not able to enter anymore. Telnet's no longer working, right? But now SSH is, right? Let's issue a we'll go here and we'll say Control C and show IP SSH. SSH enabled version 2. Authentication timeout is 120 seconds. Authentication retries by default is 3 tries, right? So it's all set up. Now, for a nifty little trick, we can SSH in with this PC. All we need to do is type, and you will not be able to do this with your command prompt in Windows 7 or XP, but in this virtual packet tracer world, you're able to do it with an SSH client built into the command prompt, which for me hasn't worked on a regular Microsoft operating system command prompt. So here it is. You can type SSH space -L for login, right? And we don't have a username yet, so the username actually will work will be admin, and then and then the IP address that we want to connect to, which 192.168.99.2, right? Hit enter and ask for our password, type in Cisco, and we're in. We're into the switch. If we type enable, we can get to Cisco again, and there we are. We're in privileged user mode, and we've SSH'd into the switch. Now, if we want to, we could set up a higher level of authentication by having a username and not just admin, right? We can have specific usernames for users allowed to connect to the switch, and that's going to give us another important point for connecting in. Just so you can see all the commands we use to set it up, here are the commands that were placed into switch 1 right here to set up the SSH access, and then here is the command I use from the command prompt on this PC to SSH from the PC into the switch.